There's a lot of rhetoric that is going on. There's a lot of theatrics, political theatrics that has been going on, none of which is substantial for the African. Okay? So I'm offended that the disingenuousness put black out in front of this whole mess. Okay? I'm offended. And I'm actually really offended that all these black people have been running around carrying this water. It's so reckless. It's just so insanely reckless to me. In this moment, it's not okay to say the lesser of two evils. I played that trick. That's how these two got in office in the first place, right? That's one. I already voted for the brown person because the person was brown, and that was a heartbreaking experience. Okay? That was a heartbreaking experience to have the brother man be the betrayer. Okay? So, and I have a whole logic behind that. But in 2024, it's no reason why we should still be at that same spot that we were back in 2008 in terms of our social capital as a community. But you know what our social capital did? African people took a lot of loss back in 2008, from 2008 to what? 2012, 2016. African people took a lot of loss during that time. The people held the brunt of the blows. The people did. The people on the continent of Africa did. And the people here stateside took a huge blow. Blow after blow after blow after blow from 2008 to 2016. Okay? That's number one. So I keep saying to the African, your strategy has to be specific to you. There's no illusion of inclusion for the African. So all of these black elites and academics and talking heads that are out here carrying this water, that's foolishness, because that strategy is not African-centered. In order for you to present a strategy, it has to be very specific to African people. Specific, because we are different. Claude Anderson said the African does not understand its position in the market. Okay? So a snake with two heads, making an analysis from 2008 to 2016, and now 2016 to 2020, and then from there now here. Let's be very clear that as African people, there's been no service for us. So you've gotten no service. They put black out in front of this woman. Mind you, the articles say that she's the first East Indian vice president. So I would not have had a problem. I still wasn't going to vote for her, but I wouldn't have had a problem had she taken the ticket as a person of color. She should have taken the ticket as a person of color instead of using the African in the American way, this is America, as the mule to carry the work. And it's such a disgrace and disrespect to the means that this woman has decided to talk to African people. The way politicians talk to African people in general is so offensive. It's so offensive. So there should be a strategy that was in place that is specifically for African people. Let me be very clear, no matter which head of that snake gets in there, you won't be getting no service. History dictates that. You can talk all that talk as you want to. That's foolishness. This woman is going to ride that donkey right up in there, and she's going to get her come-ups, and she's going to be situated for the rest of her life. Because that's what that is. She get her name in the books, her reputation, some statues, some wax figures, and she gets the cakewalk on the ticket, the dime of the American taxpayer, and done and done. Yeah. Yep. That's it. And yet again, that African doesn't get any service. And see, when it comes to relationships of domestic violence, DV relationships, we as a people are now suffering a severe degree of Stockholm Syndrome. It doesn't matter whether or not you're going to get service. You wasn't going to get served anyway. You wasn't getting served either way. But this was a great opportunity to wield your power. That's what those talking heads and those black elitists were supposed to do. We're not going nowhere until you give us a guarantee. That's what you were supposed to do. You were supposed to get a guarantee. I wanted to jump through my TV when this woman jumped off her mouth and said, "Oh, I'm not going to do nothing that specifically helps black people." And she said that with such disrespect and flagrant disregard. You forgot that African people built this country? So if in this moment that you are coming after the brown president that we already had for 2 terms, you would have the audacity to slap African people in the face, in their face, and you have these elite black people walking around carrying this water for this woman on the back of this disrespect because of what? Because she's brown? Because she's now the opportunist that's running on the black ticket. Before she was running on the East Indian ticket. Now she's running on the black ticket. Fine. Okay. But being a brown person should have already told us as African people that that's not sufficient enough for us to get behind you. You need to give us a guarantee. And on her watch, she signed the anti-Asian hate bill. Period. Specifically for Asian people. There's no clauses in that allows us to take any benefit from what is being served to that community. There's no clauses. So all those people of color and affirmative action clause and diversity clauses, that covers everybody. And guess what? Everybody got more benefit from those things once those things occurred. This is why you have Dr. Umar saying multiculturalism is garbage. Multiculturalism is garbage. You messed around and you wanted to friend everybody and kiki and kakak with everybody that you messed around and you literally obsoleted yourself out of opportunity because Dr. Claude Anderson said you don't understand your position in the market. You're not competitive. Those individuals are competing with you. So they take your meal, eat it, and then in your face about it. I'm not us versus them. This is not us versus them. This is the basic analysis from African Center Prism. You need to know where you stand. So in this moment, even though you already know going in you're not getting served, then this was an opportunity for an experiential learning piece where they should have voted for the Green Party. One, what that would have done for you, the fact that the Green Party actually are talking to issues that actually support you directly, with no trim, without watering it down, directly supporting black people, period. Black people built this country. So there's no way to get around the black person, especially the American descendants of enslaved Africans. There's no way to get around that. But somehow, these elitist black people have been carrying the water and out here intimidating and demonizing other people for speaking against this position. I don't sign on for this strategy. This is not a viable strategy for the African. Because it doesn't have any long-term residual impacts. And when it comes to African people in the situation and the vulnerability that we're experiencing right now, we need things that will continue to give us some residual. This is what the system that you're living in. This is the sum total of what you're seeing. When they create a hole in the landmine that throws us back, when they create the divisiveness and it throws us back, when they come in our communities and they redline, and now they gentrified, and now they displaced, and all of those things are residual impacts of their plans. And it continues to sit us back, and continues to impact us. And then they came in 2009 and took homes, 200,000 more or plus homes from black people. They claim that's the American way to gain wealth. Those individuals came together and they worked together. All of these different banks and entities, all of these different workers came together and they sought out black people as a mule for the housing bubbles. I'm just telling you. I'm just saying, this is a specific analysis that directly relates to African people. So any of the trinkets and the little crumbs and sprinkle is not going to be enough to situate a residual effect in the African community. So this was a moment for an experiential learning piece for African people to come together and prove to themselves that they have self-dignity. Self-dignity. I don't care what nobody else think about African people, because them people going to do what they do, and they have been doing what they do. African people should have come together to stand together and block vote for the first time and give an experiential piece to learn how to work together politically. Judge Joe Brown said we have made ourselves islands of dysfunction and chaos. Come together as a collective block and vote for our interests and demonstrate to our children, Gen Z and Gen Alpha, how to do that. No, what you did was you teaching the youth to bandwagon. You teaching the youth to join the crew. You're not teaching them to be independent thinkers and to analyze things from an African-centered perspective. 45, I have no conversation for 45. I'm still getting over the trauma of the exonerated 5 from the Central Park situation. I'm still not over that. I'm still not over the demand for the electric chair for children who were actually innocent. So there's nothing that can come into the space, and that after all of this time, there has been no retraction. There's been no retraction, which is the media, which is the optics. See, African, you need the optics, because it is the optics that has created the propagandized lack of value in African life. That's the mechanism that has been used globally to diminish the worth of an African. So you needed an opportunity to create an experiential learning exercise for yourselves, for all the onlookers, and for the globe to experience your unified behavior, consciousness, and coming behind a brown person that's mostly brown most of the days, and some days is this and some days is that, with the goofy, dumb goof foolishness. I'm not here for it. I'm just not here for it. It doesn't support anything African-centered, and you are still not going to get served. Mark my word. Mark my word. You still will not be served. Gen Z and Gen Alpha are our concerns today, and they're in trouble. The 7% of our community over the next 10 years, I believe they said that America graduates something like 42,000 youth every year from the bachelorette program. Those numbers are going to shrink severely. And then once they get out, just because they have a degree is no guarantee they're going to get a job. Because now you have all of these other groups, Dr. Claude Anderson, that are in front of you, that you will now have to go knock on their doors begging for crumbs. Your children, Alphas and Gen Zs, are going to have to knock on the doors of all these other groups groveling for crumbs. You've now made a way to starve your children out. Our children, our community. This circumstance, this particular head of that snake, wasn't going to knock a dent in that experience at all. That's where I'm coming from. That is where the strategy is foundationed in. There needs to be a system, a situation in place to give a residual effect over the next 20 years so that we can throw out a net for Gen Alpha and Gen Z. When they'll be 25, when they'll be 30, when they'll be 35, we needed to throw a net out there. Nobody threw a net out for us. I'm Gen X. No one threw a net out for us because our parents were so busy worried about trying to, get their come up so they could be affluent black folks. That's what my generation's elders was doing. And dealing with their own traumas. So they didn't throw nothing out for us. Then you got the millennials who came in the middle, who are kind of, now there's a whole huge mental health situation going on now. So now everybody from millennials on down are mostly, and the more you go down, have a greater lack of self-control, a greater lack of impulse control, a greater entitlement deficit. They're not willing to put the kind of work that Gen Xers and everybody else put in. And yes, some of those experiences were abusive, but you still in life cause and effect. We were supposed to be throwing out a net for them. So now you're going to take 4 years of this thing. You're not going to get no service. You're going to be able to experience being beaten in a DV situation. You're going to look up again at another brown person, black, brown person, being the hand of harm towards the African community. And the disingenuous threw us out there as the shield in front of this foolishness. Got those radical individuals with loose minds out there thinking that it's an African problem and that it's a migrant problem. They coming at us. And you didn't even give us any shield. And your elite African brains and scholars did not demand a shield. You're using us. They use us in the women's suffrage movement. They use us in those movements. They use us over here. They use us everywhere to carry everything. They do it in media. Every time they want to introduce a concept, they put the black family out there with the, listen. They put the black woman out there watching the video shrink. The TV show Shrinking. They have the black actress out there being what I've always known to be as a white woman. But she's a black woman that's playing that particular character. That's kind of sort of sketchy and demeaning in a sort of way. But she's a doctor in psychology. They use us to carry the water all the time. They use us to carry the water. And we didn't make any demand. Just watch the Sister Jamila's video. And she said, you're giving this love, giving this value. And all you're doing is you're diminishing your value more and more. Remember, Africans didn't have life privilege in this country. So now you have grasp of something. This would have been an opportunity to have an experiential learning opportunity for yourself, because guess what? No matter what the wishing well says, you will not get service. They filibustered everything that the other brown person was trying to do. The last 18 months of his tenure, they just filibustered. He couldn't do no work. The man was at work, couldn't even work. So exactly what made, and you know something, it was irresponsible on her behalf to be so flagrant about the way that she said what she said. Even if she wanted to say something like that, because she know that she has another side of America that she has to also cater to, so she got to be talking out of both sides of her neck. Why didn't she sit the African out there and embarrass and dehumanize and diminish? Which is what America has always done to the African. That's what that statement did. That statement was a slap in the face. You should have been highly insulted. You should have been highly insulted. The fact that you weren't highly insulted demonstrates that you are suffering from a complex form of Stockholm Syndrome. You are in a tragic experience of DV. You know, DV, when they jack you up, they love bomb you, and then they just try to be nice a little bit, and then they beat you up and batter you again, and they tell you they love you. Yeah, African, yeah. As a community, our scholars, our best and brightest, has led us into this space. They ain't leave me in there. They let most of the other folks up in there. I'm just saying. And this other one here was never an option. This other one was never an option. Period. Ever. Never an option. Because an African in prison, in jail, innocent. The victim's family was pleading for the life of this man. And America literally just killed an innocent man while this woman is you're parading around here, America. Our elite brains didn't step up for this. Our elite brains was supposed to capitalize on that environment around that brother, got that brother pardoned, and demanded an anti-lynching bill immediately, or would take the vote off the table. But our best and brightest failed again, as they often do. This is why I have a whole hard no for the talented 10th. Hard no. They are brown white people. They have assimilated, and their spirits of African is no longer within them. I don't care if they say, listen, Grandma used to say, the devil know the Bible. They can talk all that black talk as they want to talk. I don't really care. We talking about life here. And both of these individuals support the harm that came to African people with the African Holocaust, the Ma'afa. They support that because we are here in 2024 and we are still behaving in such a way. So we didn't learn anything. So, but African, when are you going to get off the hamster wheel? African, you don't have to go down with the shit. And your people led you right to the slaughter. They did that. They did that. Consciously aware, they did it. And there's people in the timeline having the audacity where they ain't going to win anyway. That's not the point. The point was for you to take this opportunity to hold your hand. You guys did not rally around that innocent man. That innocent man in American soil, they took his life for no reason. First of all, he was in prison for wrongly accused in prison. Y'all ain't got nothing to say to me. All of y'all are some turncoats. All of y'all. Dr. Umar, when you get Wakanda going, all of these people, nope. 5,000 lashes. Just hand them out. Hand them out. I'm so done with the way that we process information. You cannot assimilate into an environment like this. There's no fixing this. This thing is out of control. It is so diabolical of how nasty and dysfunctional this experience is. There's no healing for it. And African, you're supposed to know that. But you have people who are undermining within our house. There are African people that are undermining the growth and development of African people. Having those actors and those dancers and those people coming up to talk to African people was such a great insult. Such a great insult. And here it is, you have a man who lost his life, an innocent man who lost his life. So many innocent African men have lost their lives in this country. And you're going to let that woman come up in there under the shield of blackness. Opportunists, pandering and playing black. I don't care. She may be DNA. Her DNA may be African or black. It doesn't matter. The point is, it's disingenuous. Because you're only pulling out that card because you wanted to play these people. But you sat there. I ain't going to do nothing just for black people. Oh, okay. Okay. But you can serve everybody else. Everybody else can line up and get their service. And nobody could get their service if it wasn't for African people. Because African people laid the foundation for everyone. And you have the audacity to be that nasty and disrespectful. And then you have all these people carrying this water. I don't really care what you say. Because I can tell you off rip right now, your analysis is faulty. It has to begin and end with at least a 20-year progressive plan that supports Gen Z and Gen Alpha. That's it. So if this 4 years is not laying any brick towards that, then it's null. Because those individuals, when they made the philosophy of the curse of the Willie Lynch letter, that's the science that it was based on. Science has African people in the vulnerable condition that we are now in. And science and strategy and psychology and human behavior will bring us out of it. So if that doesn't happen, then we are not on track for sovereignty or independence. And you're definitely not getting integration because they just brought all your replacements in. Dr. Joe Brown said they're getting them some new iggas. They're getting them some new ones. So Gen Z and Gen Alpha, 35, 40 years ago, they did a prospectus. They built this whole business. They created this business plan. They did a lot of proposals. They walked around. They got a lot of investments, and they opened up privatized prisons. Now those privatized prisons are federally traded. You do a prospectus. Where are you going to get your clients to keep those prisons filled so you can keep getting that coin from all of those states? Where? Who? They knew ahead of time. So when I say a 20-year forward plan, they had a 50-year forward plan, 35-year forward plan, 25-year forward plan. They're all working simultaneously and they're all unfolding right before our eyes. And we are not helpless. We have not strategized correctly and we have a problem within because we have people within our house undermining our progress. I'm just so over it, African. It's just incredible. Let's just try to think this thing through. Excuse me. And peace, power, and blessings, African. Thank you for coming in with me. I appreciate you. always, for listening and coming in with me. But yeah, that's where I'm with the Green Party. I'm with Stein. Excuse me. Been having these allergies all day. Yes, I'm with Stein, and I'm with Dr. Ware. It is what it is. They talk the language I want to talk. I'm for justice no matter who's serving it. I'm for truth no matter who says it. I'm here for it. Sao bana.